You've been hurt before, broken, maybe even betrayed. But let me tell you this. From today, no woman will ever hurt you again. Because when you rise in self respect, when you raise your standards, you step into a level of strength where heartbreak cannot touch you anymore. Today, I will show you how. Step one, your standards define your experience. Your standards are not just preferences, they are the very foundation of how people treat you, how relationships unfold, and how love feels in your life. Every experience you've had with another person was shaped by what you allowed and what you refused to tolerate. The truth is, people don't hurt you simply because they are capable of hurting. You get hurt when you permit behavior that doesn't align with your worth. Standards are the invisible lines you draw that tell the world this is acceptable and this is not. The higher those standards, the safer your heart, your mind, and your soul will remain. The problem is, many people lower their standards out of fear of being alone. They think if they ask for too much, they will lose the person they want. But what you don't realize is that lowering your standards is the very reason you end up losing yourself. You accept inconsistency because you don't want to seem demanding. You accept disrespect because you don't want to appear difficult. You accept silence when you needed reassurance and lies when you deserved honesty. Every time you lower the bar, you're teaching people that you're willing to sacrifice your own peace just to keep them. And that lesson will always come back to you in the form of pain. When you hold strong to your standards, you don't chase love, you filter it. The wrong people naturally fall away because they cannot match the energy you carry. Standards are not about controlling others. They are about protecting yourself. They are not rules for other people. They are promises you make to yourself. If your standard is honesty, then anyone who lies to you automatically eliminates themselves. If your standard is respect, then anyone who belittles you is no longer allowed into your space. When you set these standards, you are not being harsh, you are being wise, and you are building a world where only the right kind of love can survive. Most of the heartbreak people go through is not because they met the wrong person. It's because they stayed after realizing that person was wrong for them. They noticed the red flags, but convinced themselves they were being too picky. They saw the inconsistencies, but told themselves that love means patience. They felt the disrespect, but silenced their own voice just to keep the peace. But peace built on ignoring your standards is not real peace. It's a ticking time bomb that always explodes in heartbreak. The longer you allow someone to cross your standards, the deeper the hurt becomes. You have to remember, what you settle for is what you end up with. If you make excuses for poor treatment, you're giving silent permission for it to continue. If you tell yourself no one is perfect as an excuse to accept toxicity, you're forgetting that imperfection is human, but disrespect is a choice. People can have flaws and still respect your boundaries. They can make mistakes and still value your worth. But when someone consistently ignores your standards, they're showing you who they are, and it's your job to believe them the first time. There is nothing selfish about having high standards. In fact, it's one of the most selfless things you can do. Because when you protect your heart, you protect your energy. And when you protect your energy, you bring the best version of yourself into every connection. People who cannot meet your standards will fall away, and those who can will rise to meet them. Standards act like a filter. They separate the temporary from the permanent, the fake from the genuine, and the toxic from the loyal. Your standards are not too high if they protect your peace. Your standards are not too much if they keep you aligned with your worth. What's truly too much is living a life where you constantly betray yourself just to keep someone else close. Standards don't push the right people away. They eliminate the wrong ones. And the sooner you realize this, the sooner you'll stop blaming others for hurting you and start taking responsibility for what you allow into your world. Step 2, boundaries are protection, not barriers. Boundaries are not walls that keep love out, they are doors that decide what kind of love comes in. Most people misunderstand boundaries. They think having them makes you cold, unapproachable, or difficult to love. But in reality, boundaries are the ultimate form of self-respect. They are the rules you set to protect your energy, your peace, and your heart from people who do not deserve the deepest parts of you. A boundary is not an obstacle to love. It is a filter that ensures love comes in the right way. The reason so many people get hurt in relationships is because they confuse boundaries with rejection. They feel guilty for saying no, they feel afraid to speak up when something doesn't sit right with them, and they worry that if they set limits, they'll scare the other person away. But the truth is, if someone leaves because you set a boundary, they were never meant to stay. A person who values you will never be offended by your standards. They will see your boundaries as a sign of strength and maturity, not as a punishment. Boundaries don't ruin connections. They reveal who is capable of handling them. Think about it. When you don't have boundaries, you give people unlimited access to your energy. You allow them to call when they want, come and go as they please, disrespect your time, or cross your values without consequences. At first, it might seem harmless because you tell yourself that being easygoing makes you more lovable. But slowly, you begin to feel drained, unappreciated, and invisible. That's because love without boundaries isn't really love. It's tolerance. And tolerance of the wrong things always ends in resentment. Boundaries protect your peace. They are the reason you can walk away from manipulation. They are the reason you don't fall for empty words when actions don't align. They are the reason you don't waste years of your life waiting for someone to change who they never intended to be. Boundaries remind you of your worth every single time you enforce them. When you say, "I will not accept lies," you're not being cruel, you're being clear. When you say, "My time is valuable," you're not being demanding, you're being self-respecting. When you say, "I won't let you raise your voice at me," you're not being sensitive, you're being strong. Boundaries are the voice of self-love in action. Most people who struggle with boundaries are afraid of loss. They think if they speak up, they will lose the person they care about. But what's worse, losing someone who doesn't respect you or losing yourself by staying quiet. The truth is, you cannot lose the right people by setting boundaries. The right people don't see your boundaries as rejection. They see them as instructions on how to love you better. The wrong people will resist. They will test. They will try to push you past your limits because your boundaries threaten the control they want over you. And that's when you'll know exactly who belongs in your life and who doesn't. Boundaries are not meant to distance you from intimacy. They are meant to create the kind of intimacy that is safe, lasting, and respectful. When you have no boundaries, intimacy becomes confusion. But when your boundaries are firm, intimacy becomes secure. You can love without fear because you know you're not being used. You can give freely because you know you won't be taken for granted. You can trust deeply because you know if someone crosses your line, you have the strength to walk away. Boundaries are not a wall that blocks out love. They are a gate that protects it. Without them, anyone can enter, including those who come to destroy, deceive, or disrespect. But with them, only the people who value, honor, and respect your worth are allowed through. Boundaries do not make love harder. They make love stronger. They do not kill connections. They refine them. They don't build distance. They build respect. And in relationships, respect is the soil where love can actually grow. Step 3, heal before you choose again. Healing before stepping into another relationship is one of the most important lessons you can ever learn, yet it is the one most often ignored. Too many people rush into something new, thinking that love will heal the wounds left behind by the old. But the truth is, unhealed pain does not disappear, it hides. It hides in the way you overthink, in the way you distrust, in the way you overreact to small things, because deep down, the scars of your past are still bleeding. When you jump into a new relationship without healing, you don't start fresh. You carry the same cycle with you, and sooner or later, the same heartbreak will repeat itself in a different face. Healing is not about blaming yourself for what went wrong. It is about understanding why it affected you so deeply. It's about confronting the wounds instead of burying them under distractions. Most people try to numb their pain with new attention, temporary comfort, or validation from someone else. But when that distraction fades, the same unresolved hurt comes back stronger. Healing means sitting with yourself long enough to feel the pain, process it, and then release it. It is uncomfortable, but that discomfort is the doorway to freedom. Because the reality is this: if you don't heal what hurt you, you will bleed on those who didn't cut you. When you heal, you learn how to separate the past from the present. You begin to see people for who they truly are instead of projecting your past disappointments onto them. Without healing, every raised voice feels like old anger. Every delayed text feels like old neglect. And every disagreement feels like old betrayal. You react not to the person in front of you, but to the ghosts behind you. Healing removes those ghosts. It allows you to see clearly and respond with wisdom rather than with wounds. Healing does not erase what happened, but it takes away the power it has over you. Another reason healing matters so deeply is because it restores your ability to trust yourself. When a relationship ends painfully, you don't just lose trust in the other person, you also lose trust in your own judgment. You start questioning your worth, doubting your instincts, and blaming yourself for missing the signs. Healing is the process of rebuilding that inner trust. It is learning to forgive yourself for the things you didn't know then, while honoring the wisdom you have now. Without this self-trust, you'll always second-guess your choices, which means you'll enter new relationships already half-broken, already unsure, already guarded. And love cannot survive where trust does not exist. Healing also teaches you patience. It makes you understand that love is not something to rush into, but something to build carefully. When you heal, you no longer fall for the rush of chemistry or the thrill of attention. You begin to prioritize peace over passion, alignment over attraction, and consistency over promises. Healing gives you clarity, and clarity is what protects you from repeating old mistakes. Because when you've taken the time to heal, you no longer crave someone to fill your emptiness. You choose someone to complement your wholeness. Most importantly, healing gives you back your power. When you are unhealed, your past controls you, your fears guide you, and your wounds dictate what you settle for. But when you heal, you reclaim authority over your life. You stop being defined by what someone else did to you, and you start being defined by how you chose to rise after it. You no longer allow pain to make decisions on your behalf. You choose with strength, with clarity, with patience, and with self-respect. And when you make choices from a place of healing, you no longer attract the same pain that once broke you. Step 4, respect is the foundation, not an option. Respect is the foundation of every meaningful relationship, and without it, love cannot survive. People often confuse love with passion, attraction, or chemistry, but those things alone cannot hold a relationship together. They are temporary feelings that rise and fade with time. Respect, on the other hand, is what gives love its strength. It is the force that keeps a relationship stable, even when emotions shift. Because the truth is, you can love someone and still hurt them if there is no respect. But when respect exists, even in moments of conflict, dignity remains untouched. Respect is not a luxury, it is not an extra. It is the very foundation of trust, loyalty, and safety in love. Respect begins with yourself. The way you carry yourself, the way you treat your own time, energy, and values sets the tone for how others treat you. When you respect yourself, you make it clear what is acceptable and what is not. You are no longer available for half love, for dishonesty, for manipulation. You no longer chase after someone who treats you as an option because you know your value is far greater than that. Self-respect is the signal that tells others how to show up for you. If you treat yourself as someone worthy, the right people will follow and the wrong people will walk away. Respect is not just demanded with words, it is commanded by the energy you carry. In relationships, respect is shown in the smallest actions that are often overlooked. It is seen in the way someone listens when you speak, in the way they honor your boundaries, in the way they are mindful of your time, and in the way they support your growth. Disrespect is not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. It's in the delayed responses that show you are not a priority. It's in the broken promises that show carelessness. It's in the small lies that chip away at trust. When you ignore those moments, you train yourself to settle for less than you deserve. Respect is not about grand gestures. It's about consistency. And consistency is what separates real love from empty words. Many people believe that love is enough, but love without respect becomes toxic. When there is love but no respect, jealousy turns into control, arguments turn into insults, and passion turns into possession. Respect is what ensures love remains pure, safe, and empowering instead of destructive. Respect is not about agreeing with everything or avoiding conflict. It's about never demeaning, never belittling, never crossing the line where dignity is lost. Disagreements can exist without disrespect. Boundaries can exist without hostility. Love can exist without control. Respect is what makes all of this possible. Respect also means valuing your partner's individuality. Too often, people enter relationships expecting the other person to fit into their mold, to sacrifice their dreams, to bend until they break. But real respect celebrates individuality. It doesn't suppress it. It supports personal growth, even when that growth means change. Respect says, I honor who you are, even when you are different from me. It does not seek to dominate or control. It seeks to understand and uplift. Without this level of respect, relationships turn into cages. With it, relationships become the safest place to grow. And finally, respect creates loyalty. Love may ignite the connection, but respect sustains it. You cannot be truly loyal to someone you don't respect, because loyalty is not just about staying, it's about staying with integrity. When respect is the foundation, trust flows naturally, commitment becomes effortless, and love deepens with time. But when respect is missing, loyalty crumbles, and no amount of passion or chemistry can hold it together. Respect is not negotiable. It is the base that carries everything else. Without it, relationships fall apart, no matter how strong the feelings once were. Step 5, clarity over chemistry. Chemistry is powerful. It's magnetic. It pulls you in. It makes your heart race and your mind quiet. But the same chemistry that excites you can also blind you. It can make you overlook red flags, ignore warning signs, and justify behaviors that, deep down, you know are not right for you. Chemistry is not a guarantee of compatibility. It's just attraction. And attraction without alignment is one of the fastest ways to heartbreak. This is why clarity will always be more important than chemistry, because while chemistry fades, clarity stays. Chemistry excites the moment, but clarity protects your future. Clarity means stepping back from the emotions long enough to see the reality of what you are building with someone. It is asking yourself questions that go deeper than how they make you feel in the moment. Do they share your values? Do they respect your boundaries? Do they bring peace or do they bring chaos? Are they consistent with their words and actions? When you have clarity, you stop falling for temporary feelings and start recognizing permanent patterns. Feelings can change quickly, but patterns reveal truth. And when you choose someone based on patterns rather than just chemistry, you protect yourself from illusions. One of the most common mistakes people make is confusing intensity for intimacy. Just because someone makes your heart race doesn't mean they're good for your soul. Just because someone makes you feel butterflies doesn't mean they will make you feel safe. Intensity can come from dysfunction, from inconsistency, from the constant highs and lows of emotional roller coasters. That kind of chemistry is addictive, but it is not healthy. Clarity, on the other hand, seeks stability over intensity. It reminds you that peace is not boring. It is the highest form of love. The right connection will not just excite you, it will ground you. Clarity also means being honest with yourself about what you need versus what you want. You may want passion, thrill, and excitement, but what you need is respect, consistency, and alignment. You may want someone who makes you feel desired, but you need someone who makes you feel safe. The truth is, when chemistry takes control, wants become louder than needs, and you start sacrificing the very things that keep a relationship healthy. But when clarity leads, your needs are prioritized, and your choices reflect a deeper level of wisdom. You stop settling for sparks when what you truly deserve is fire that lasts. Clarity is also what saves you from wasting years of your life on someone who was never right for you. Chemistry can trick you into believing you found something rare, when in reality you've only found someone who excites your emotions but cannot support your growth. Clarity allows you to step back and see the bigger picture. Is this relationship aligned with the life you're building? Do they share your vision, your goals, your principles? Or is the connection based only on temporary attraction that will not withstand the test of time? Chemistry makes you hold on, but clarity tells you when to let go. And most importantly, clarity allows you to choose with strength instead of desperation. When you live without clarity, you cling to chemistry because it feels rare, as if you may never find it again. But when you live with clarity, you know that attraction is common, while alignment is rare. You understand that you can feel chemistry with many people, but only with the right person will you find peace, respect, and lasting love. Chemistry is what sparks the connection, but clarity is what makes it sustainable. And if you ever have to choose between the two, choose clarity, because it will always protect your heart from illusions and guide you toward love that is real. Step 6, you are the prize. The greatest shift in your life happens the moment you realize you are the prize. Too many people walk into relationships thinking they need to be chosen, that love is about proving themselves worthy enough for someone else's approval. This mindset is why they tolerate disrespect, why they beg for attention, why they stay in situations that constantly drain them. But the truth is, the moment you begin to see yourself as the prize, everything changes. You no longer chase love, you attract it. You no longer accept the bare minimum, you demand respect. You no longer settle for being an option, you choose who deserves access to you. Being the prize does not mean arrogance, it means self-awareness. It means recognizing your worth, your energy, your effort, and your presence as valuable. The wrong person will make you feel like you are too much, but the right person will see that you are more than enough. When you carry yourself like the prize, you stop waiting to be validated. You no longer base your value on whether someone stays or leaves, because your value is not dependent on anyone else. It is built into who you are. The prize does not beg to be noticed, it shines regardless of who sees it. Living as the prize means you set the tone for every connection in your life. You don't settle for inconsistency because you know your worth is too high for confusion. You don't allow disrespect because you know that your peace is priceless. You don't entertain half-hearted love because you know you deserve something real and whole. People often lose themselves in relationships because they forget this truth. They forget that love should never cost them their dignity. But when you see yourself as the prize, dignity becomes your starting point, not something you compromise for the sake of keeping someone. The reason so many people get hurt is because they put others on pedestals while shrinking themselves. They make the other person the prize, the goal, the center of their world, and in the process, they forget their own value. But love is never about worshiping someone else. It is about walking side by side with mutual respect. The prize does not beg to be won. It allows itself to be claimed only by those who are worthy. And worthiness is not about money, status, or appearance. It is about character, consistency, loyalty, and integrity. When you embody the energy of being the prize, you stop being afraid of loss. You understand that losing someone who cannot respect you is not a loss, it's a blessing. You understand that walking away from what doesn't honor you is not weakness, it's power. The prize is never afraid of being alone because the prize knows that solitude is better than being surrounded by people who don't value it. This mindset frees you. It allows you to love without fear because you know that your happiness does not depend on someone else choosing you. It depends on you choosing yourself first. And perhaps the most powerful part of embracing this truth is that it transforms the way people treat you. Energy does not lie. When you carry yourself as the prize, others feel it. They recognize that you are not desperate, that you are not seeking validation, that you are not afraid of walking away. And that energy commands respect without you ever having to ask for it. People rise to the level of your standards when you truly believe in your own worth. The prize does not adjust itself for others. The prize makes others step up if they want to claim it. Remember this, no one has the power to hurt you unless you give it to them. Your standards, your boundaries, your healing, your demand for respect, your clarity, and your belief in your own worth, these are your shields. When you walk through life knowing that you are the prize, no heartbreak, no betrayal, and no temporary pain can shake you. Protect yourself, honor yourself, and love yourself first, because the right people will always rise to meet the version of you that refuses to settle for less. From today, choose strength over fear, clarity over confusion, and self-respect over compromise.